This is Sky Sports, a part of the British Sky Broadcasting Network.
A county fair atmosphere surrounds today's action from one of the true hotbeds in tractor pulling, Owensboro, Kentucky. It's the ultimate in heavy machinery. 7,200-pound multiple-engine tractors will shake the Davis County Fairgrounds. Then it's wheels of action and the smoky thrills of modified pro stocks. Get set for the ride of your life coming up next. This is Trucks and Tractor Power, featuring the all-stars of TNT's All-American Pulling Series. Welcome to Trucks and Tractor Power on the Nashville Network. Today we come to you from Owensboro, Kentucky. Hi everybody, I'm Gary Lee alongside Army Armstrong. We're in Army's hometown for a double-header of tractor pulling competition.
And oh, what a double-header we have. We go to opposite end of the spectrum. Both classes we're going to be looking at today, Gary, are called tractor classes. But the one behind us, like you find on the showroom floor, is stock appearing. But these guys take and add one turbocharger to this tractor. They put it in a 10,000-pound weight category. That one turbocharger doubles the horsepower. That'll be one of the classes. Then we go to the other end of the spectrum. It's a weight class, 7,200 pounds. How many engines can you hang on it to turn 160-mile-an-hour wheel speed? That's what we're going to find out tonight.
A county fair atmosphere here in Owensboro, Kentucky at the Lions Club Fairgrounds, and everyone gets in the competitive act here at the arcade. But on a more serious tone, 7,200-pound modified tractors, and we're looking at 300 feet of Kentucky clay. It's the 7,200-pound multiple-engine tractors, good track conditions. The sled weight about 55,000 pounds.
Gary, the 55,000 pound is about the equivalent weight of an average three-bedroom home. Speaking of average weight and who's coming to the line, the man that drew the #1 spot that'll be the test puller is a hybrid engine combination out of Wisconsin, Dave Walsh in the Irish Challenger. He's a test puller, and believe me, everybody's going to be watching the front of his tractor.
4 Arius engines costing between $35,000 and $45,000, and look at the front end jump, Army.
Okay, I mentioned just a moment ago, you watched the front end of the tractor, the test puller. That's an indication that the track is holding a whole lot of bite. Now, Walsh lays down a good run. The word we're getting, he's about 13 and a half feet. Yeah, 13 and a half feet shy of a full pull. But we're also getting the word that he might turn that pull down. That's an indication he thinks the track may get better.
Well, he has the option once again as the test puller to not accept his hook, fall back in the pulling line, and come back a bit later in the competition. That's exactly what he has decided to do.
Boy, the replay shows you the awesome wheel speed of these monster tractors. 160-mile-an-hour wheel speed in the bluegrass clay.
Well, there is a good look at Dave Walsh.
Now, he picks up the option.
Decided not to accept it.
That's kind of surprising. That tells me he thinks the track could get better. Now, if somebody can read this track, it'll be Fred Freeman out of Wadesville, Indiana.
This is the mean mistreater. He's using Chevrolet horsepower. He has 4 Chevy 454 cubic inch engines, about 4,000 horsepower, and he's going to use it all right here.
His right hand's his trademark. He comes out, pulls the trigger on the awesome Chevrolet. The front end lifts a little bit.
Slides off to the left side of the lane.
Good ground speed. He's going to be close. Oh,
not quite.
No cigar.
A whisker away from a full pull, 298.36.
So Walsh may have made the good move. He turned down a pull that was 13 feet shy. The replay comes up on Freeman. You notice his right hand rolls about 10 feet and punches the throttle.
That brings up 4,000 horsepower from those 4 Chevrolet engines. His front end not as high in the air as was the Dave Walsh machine earlier. Obviously a good run, almost a full pull. Here's Army.
Well, it's official. You're the guy on top that everybody's going to be coming after. Is it a typical Owensboro horsepower track?
Yes, Army, it really is. It takes a lot of front end weight. We made an adjustment down there on the other end, and I wish I'd moved my other weight forward, but it's going to be a pretty good pass, but I think there'll be some people beat it due to the high horsepower tractors, but the guys with the 5 engines that don't have any front end weight tonight, they could be in big trouble.
All right, the key is to add that front end weight because this will be a horsepower track here in Owensboro. Here is the Virginia farmer, John Carlton, 4 Chevy engines on an Engler chassis.
Now, Carlton relies again on the same type of engine combination that Fred Freeman did. In Freddie's interview, he mentioned the high horsepower engines. Well, you might think horsepower is horsepower, but that's not always the case. We'll explain a little bit later. These guys are relying on the cast iron block Chevrolets to make their horsepower, and it seems to be working great here in the Bluegrass State. Look at this run.
He's keeping his front end down, but not quite far enough. 288. That will put him in second position.
It puts him 10 feet behind Freeman, and he runs exactly the same engine combination. So the only difference between these tractors, Gary, was where the weight was located on the very front. He may have had too much weight on the nose.
Once again, 4 Chevrolet engines on an Engler chassis. The Virginia farmer, John Carlton. Here is the replay again. He falls short of that run turned in by fast Freddie Freeman. The next puller is Mike Piper in the Just Add Dirt tractor with the hybrid Arius engines. 4 of them, count them. His wife Barb is his crew chief. He's a grain farmer from Illinois.
A moment ago, Fred Freeman made reference to different types of horsepower. This is the first opportunity we have to see the high dollar horsepower. These engines were designed specifically for racing. The front end comes up a little bit on him, Gary, but he lays down a good shot and drifts to the left side of the track.
Very close to that full pull, but I think Freeman still has the distance to beat. Yes, 292, 292.7 for Mike Piper. Let's take a look again at the tire speed. The horsepower being developed by 4 557 cubic inch Arius engines.
You can tell when the horsepower sticks to the track. That's when the front end came up. It settles back down, but while it's up in the air, it drifts.
Well, Army, we'll let you run over there and have a word with Mike Piper, who fell just short of overhauling our best run turned in by Freddie Freeman.
Like a 290 and change is the word we're getting. Put you in second place with this kind of competition. It's not that bad, is it?
Well, it wasn't a good run. It lifted awful hard on me out there on the track. Track had more bite in it than what I really anticipated. I had to get on the brake a couple times, killed some of my power. Good class out here right now. Track's working good.
Well, here again was our test puller from earlier in the evening, Dave Walsh in the Irish Challenger. Now, he had the luxury of being the test puller, did not accept his pull of 286.6. He's made some changes. He's rearranged some weight. And let's see what he can do now with these 4 Arius engines on the Engler chassis. Here is the Irish Challenger.
Walsh is notorious for wheel speed, which means mile an hour. Look at this. Gary, he's going to bang it out the 300-foot mark. Yeah, he takes it out the back door.
A full pull, the first of the evening. So Dave Walsh, by virtue of being the test puller earlier, did not take that pull of 286.6 feet.
First pull, the front end came up drastically. Look how tight it stays to the ground now. I'm going to work my way over and see if I can talk with him, Gary.
Well, obviously, he made the right changes, added some weight to the front end. He kept the front end down. He has the horsepower and pulls it out. A full pull. Army?
What did you do different that these other guys haven't figured out yet tonight?
Well, I was the first puller, and I came back fourth. What I did is move the sled over on some harder ground, and I got after a little bit harder.
What about the weight of the sled? Are you moving it around on the tractor trying to get a better bite?
Yeah, I put 54 pounds up front that did the first time.
So 54 pounds makes the difference as Dave Walsh has a full pull in the Irish Challenger. Fred Freeman now second, the Mean Mistreater, and Mike Piper is third in Just Add Dirt. Well, a little entertainment here for a great crowd in Owensboro. Hang on! Oh, that was not part of the act.
Bucky Waters from Owensboro, Kentucky, showing how versatile the Bobcat is. I don't think he was supposed to do that, Gary.
I don't think that was in the Hollywood script. We'll come back with more tractor pulling on Trucks and Tractor Power from Owensboro, Kentucky. Back in Owensboro, Kentucky, only 2 of some 12,000 fans that have gathered here for tractor pulling competition. John Powell and the Powell pulling machine. And of course, Dave Walsh has laid down the gauntlet with a full pull. That is the distance to beat. Now, we've seen the Arius power plants and the Chevrolets, but John Powell is using 4 Keith Black Hemi engines.
Well, Gary, Powell rolled off the starting line. He started on the left side of the track. He's trying to come to the right. The sled is not letting him do it.
Well, he's to the right now, but not nearly far enough to challenge for a full pull.
Walsh stays on top of this thing. A full pull. He showed it could be done.
John Powell in the Engler chassis, and this time those Keith Black Hemis did not turn out enough horsepower for that full pull. And as we've indicated earlier, this is a good horsepower track.
All the drivers have a book on the track. In Davis County, Kentucky, you come in, you load both barrels. It's not going to be enough in the Chrysler camp this evening, though, Gary.
So once again, the full pull turned in earlier by Dave Walsh is the distance to, well, you can't beat it. You can only tie a full pull and go into a pull-off.
Gary, here comes a real unique vehicle. Can you see anything a little bit different about this tractor that we haven't been seeing on the other tractors?
Well, this is a carbureted unit, which is very, very unusual. This is Niall Bunnage in the takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
Now, this multi-engine tractor runs an Engler chassis. This tractor is basically the same, and we've been watching all evening long, but he's giving away about 150 horsepower per engine by virtue of not being supercharged.
So why spend this kind of money for this tractor when you know you're not going to be competitive?
Well, he can pull competitive on a local level. In Southern Illinois, Southern Indiana, Western Kentucky. However, on a national level like this one, no, he's got to go play in another ballpark.
Well, here is a great camera shot from the sled. We look over his shoulder as Niall Bunnage tries unsuccessfully at only 164 feet.
He's trying to keep it in bounds, Gary. The rule in this sport is you cross that white line, no points, no money.
See the safety chain right there, which is a kill switch should the sled break loose from the tractor. Here's Tim Engler. We've talked about the Engler chassis. This is the guy that puts those chassis together. Tim Engler in the Mission Impossible. Now, once again, he is looking to tie Dave Walsh. He'll need a full pull. 5 Chevrolet engines.
Starts extreme right side of the track, picks the front end up, comes down this track like the Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe.
He's taking it out of there. Another full pull. So we indeed will have a pull-off this evening here in Owensboro, Kentucky.
Boy, the Battle of the Giants is going to be coming back in the next round. Engler used to run the Aries engine combination. He went to the Chevrolet. He said there's reasons behind it. He won't let us know what the reasons are, but whatever the scenario, it's working for him, Gary.
And he keeps the front end down, hooks the horsepower up, and takes it out of here. He has a full pull, so we'll have a pull-off between Engler and Walsh. Army, let's go back for some comments.
Well, Tim Engler, really, it's a cliche, but you really made it look easy.
Well, I tell you what, when we weighed in today, we lost about 175 pounds off the weight of the tractor that we normally run, and we knew it was an excellent track, and we lowered our drawbar, and we knew we couldn't get after the throttle real hard, and we'd get really wild on the tractor, so we just tried to keep it hooked and keep the RPM of the tires more or less equal to our ground speed, and it worked out pretty good.
We'll have a pull-off with 2 drivers and possibly a third. Our final competitor will be Robert Elliott, the fancy farmer out of Mayfield, Kentucky.
Now, Robert relies on horsepower. These engines look like they're Chrysler engines, Gary, but they're Miller racing engines. They were designed specifically for the sport of drag racing back in the 60s and 70s. They will make the horsepower. Did he make the right gear selection is the big question now.
Well, he will fall short of that necessary full pull at 277.62. So that means that Dave Walsh and Tim Engler will have a final shootout, a pull-off here in Owensboro, Kentucky. There's a look at the 2,200-pound lead block that will be added to the sled. Tim Engler rides over on his ATV, says something to Army, and Army acknowledges. So once again, a pull-off between Tim Engler and Dave Walsh, but we're getting some information now. There may be a problem with the Walsh machine. Let's go back to Army. They continue to work on the sled. Let's go back to Army and find out.
Gary, I was just talking to Tim Engler. He informed me we will not have a pull-off. David Walsh, why are you not coming back?
No, I was number 1 puller. I made a hard run. I came back number 4 and made another hard run, and my engines are just too hot right now.
Well, so it appears the winner will be Tim Engler, but the rules state that he will have to hook up and make 1 pull. Now, it doesn't state how far he would have to pull that sled, but Tim will have to hook up the tractor.
You know, Gary, this is kind of interesting because Gary, last year, Tim Engler ran the same engine combination that Walsh ran. He switched to the Chevrolet in order to get away from the exact problem that caught Walsh tonight. You know, the Chevrolet engines just basically are cheaper to operate than the hybrid engines. All he had to do was move the sled 1 foot. Look at this. Engler comes out grandstanding a little bit. These 12,000 Davis County fans are loving every minute of it, Gary.
So Tim Engler makes the mandatory hookup. He makes the pull, and he will be our victor here in Owensboro, Kentucky. And the fans appreciate his effort in the Mission Impossible. And here's a look earlier this evening at the full pull. Tim Engler, the Junior Johnson of the tractor pullers, and he takes it right out. 300 feet, the full pull. He takes the victory. Let's go back to Army.
Tim, I know that's not the way you like to win it, but a win is a win.
Well, that's true, Army, but I tell you, anytime you go out here, and the Walsh boys are true competitors, but they had to run 2 times. They were first puller in the class, and they missed their weight. They had to come back and do a better job. They definitely did that. They went out the gate. They're running some engines that are basically $35,000 a piece, and they felt like that tonight they needed to save it for tomorrow night, and it'd be very valuable points for tomorrow night. And I can respect their opinion, because tomorrow night the shoe might be on the other foot. I might be in their position. I think we are toward the front tomorrow night in the class, so we're going to have to do a good job. The first runner will have to make 3 runs.
Well, they groomed them young here at the Davis County Fairgrounds in Owensboro, Kentucky, as this could be a future racer right here. We are ready for a bonus coverage of the 10,000-pound Pro Stocks.
Gary, one of the highlights of the Pro Stock class, the type fueling system they run. They actually run water injection along with the turbo to make more horsepower.
Well, we are ready for a pull-off between 3 drivers, Carl Smith, Roland Barr, and Jay Gall. We have 2 John Deeres teaming up against a Case in this pull-off. And our first competitor is Night Moves. This is Carl Smith driving a Case Magnum.
Watch the color of the smoke. This is the way you tell when they're making horsepower. The driver's watching the gauges. You notice the smoke comes out quicker. When the smoke gets pitch black, that's when they're making maximum horsepower. That's where Carl was. That's when he left the starting line.
That's about the way my passenger car smokes.
I tell you
I'm
what,
not making horsepower.
Yeah, you're not making this kind of horsepower. Okay, the red tractor's out with a 295.82. We've got 2 green tractors that are going to be coming after him. This is where the rivalry comes into this sport, Gary Lee.
Well, of course, this is one of the most popular classes because the fans can identify with the nameplate. Bragging rights. These are the kind of tractors they drive back home on the farm. Right now, a Case, not quite the full pull, but we have 2 green John Deeres coming up. So Carl Smith makes the first pull of the pull-off, and he's down there with Army.
The name of the tractor is Night Moves. The question is, are you moving good enough tonight to win this thing in Davis County?
That's going to be tough. There's 2 good tractors behind me, and I had to ride the brake a little hard and kind of snuffed it out here before we quite got out. But I'm optimistic it'll hold up.
Well, Roland Barr is the next up from Georgetown, Ohio. The Green Line Fever, a John Deere. And once again, he knows what he will have to best, 295.8. Eases in the throttle. There comes that black smoke you're talking about. He is producing horsepower, and he is up.
Barr rolls out, front end pulls up just a little bit. He's making a good straight run. Carl said he had to tag the brakes a moment ago. That usually costs you about 10 foot a tag.
It will be short. Carl Smith looks on. He shakes his head with approval, a big smile. He knows he's still on top at 295.8. As we take a look at the distance, 283. Not good enough for Roland Barr. And here's a look over Roland Barr's shoulder as he produces the horsepower. You can see that black smoke. This camera mounted on the sled. He hammers the throttle, raises the front end, and look at him fight that steering wheel. It certainly is a workout, but not far enough for the victory here this evening. Roland Barr is now off the tractor. He's down with Army.
Roland, you did just that. You were rolling down here just a little bit short tonight.
Yeah, my tractor always loses a little power on the second hook because it's a little warmer and it doesn't get quite as much air, I guess. But it does that every time. It didn't surprise me a bit. I kind of like 1 hooks because it runs better the first time.
And here is our final competitor in our pull-off. This is Jay Gall in Scoundrel.
Gary, one thing interesting here, I told you about the loyalty of the products. Well, it's one-on-one time now. We got a red tractor in the lead and a green one going after him.
Wilmington, Ohio, the hometown of Jay Gall, so he is on the Scoundrel. It's a green John Deere, 295.82, the distance to beat. Hammers the throttle, raises the front end.
The John Deere fans are on their feet. He's trying to go right down the middle. Not gonna do it.
Now he falls well short at 273.7, and that means that Carl Smith in Night Moves will take the victory here in Owensboro, Kentucky. The final results, Carl Smith, Roland Barr, the Green Line Fever, and Jay Gall in Scoundrel. So our congratulations to Carl Smith, the winner tonight in the Pro Division. Tim Engler takes the Modifieds. So that will wrap it up in Army Armstrong's hometown of Owensboro, Kentucky. For Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. So long from the Davis County Lions Club Fairgrounds. We'll see you next week on Trucks and Tractor Power.